Today we have a very special guest speaker, and I'll be going into introductions here in just a moment. So this particular module is all around soul transformation. Now, we did some really deep soul journey, soul retrieval work, and those of you who have experienced that, you know, you're kind of starting to come back home to yourself and reintegrating and taking it slow, which is all really, really helpful and really good. Today is really the opportunity to, let's say, reinvent yourself from that particular wholeness again. And I have a perfect guest today to help you do that. And I know that you'll appreciate today, because what I have here today to kind of bring forth is something that I personally experienced. I had the opportunity to go through what you're going through, this beautiful transformation. I was in Zion National Park, and I had a really, really beautiful experience with this beautiful spiritual teacher, who I'm very happy to introduce. So I'm going to officially read you her bio. So Cynthia Lane has been a spiritual teacher, a mentor, and a healer for most of her adult life. She has been deeply blessed by the great teachings of both the Vedic and North American indigenous traditions. Cynthia taught Vedic meditation for 28 years. Wow. Work which she found indescribably rewarding, an act of pure love that took her all around the United States and to many parts of Europe and Asia. She also spent a lot of time simply meditating, including 7 years in a non-denominational convent-style setting. Bless your heart. This whole period precipitated vast spiritual and personal growth. And around 1996, Cynthia began to discover indigenous traditions of the West, and she then spent several years working with a Ho-Chunk teacher who helped her clear many deeply rooted spiritual and personal belief systems and open to a profound and intimate relationship with the earth. Cynthia was also deeply blessed by the friendship and guidance of a great Lakota wisdom keeper, a Sundance leader, healer, and teacher. And through him, she received a personal pipe, which is a precious and powerful source of blessing, inspiration, and transformation. And having studied Native American ways, this is a true honor, I can tell you that. So this particular teacher really helped teach her personal experiences with the pipe, and from there she went on to learn more Lakota sacred ceremonies, which really saturated her in these materials and non-material aspects of herself. And she felt herself really filling with this beautiful divine light. And most recently, that divine light has woven an exquisite new source of healing, transformation, and wisdom into her life, which is known as the Mary Magdalene, which is really powerful. And this is what I experienced, and I'm looking forward to sharing this same experience so that all of you can understand what it is that I underwent. These are beautiful gifts that have now merged inside Cynthia and into her own systems of teachings and into her meditations, which are called First Light Transformations, which she'll explain a little bit more. She's going to share that with you on today's call. So we are really blessed to have her here. Cynthia is a powerful facilitator for both becoming one with the infinite and the discovery and full embodiment, if that's not appropriate for now, I'm not sure what is, of the soul's divine light. Cynthia's offering allows each of us to live our infinite truth while embracing and realizing our precious and powerful gifts and our unique path on earth, the exquisite ways that the infinite expresses and shares itself through and as each of us. I love that. So Cynthia Lane, I welcome you. You're coming in at a perfect time, and I am going to officially turn everything over to you because I know you're very capable of taking over. So welcome. Very, very, very pleased to have you here.
Just a giant thank you is how I wanted to start. To Michelle for creating this really, really profound program, and for allowing me to participate in this exquisite path of growth that Michelle has created for all of you. It's just an honor to be able to support you on this path of discovery of your vast and very beautiful selves and all the truth and wisdom that are innately yours. Because though we all need guidance and teachings at points in our lives, and I've certainly been blessed with that, in the long run, we're each ultimately the leading experts on our own lives. We just have to open to the truth knocking at our door and then trust it. So as Michelle explained, I've been hugely blessed by the teachings of the East, the Vedic system, and the West, the indigenous wisdom of this country. And I have found that it's easier to open to our own knowing or our own truth in any moment if we can experience that knowing not only in our awareness or our minds, but actually even feel it in our bodies or sense it. For example, in the Lakota system, as it was shared with me, we can experience the will of the Creator, which the Lakota call Tunkashila, most clearly in our gut or around the third chakra. So you all get a gut feeling now and then. So having had these two sacred teachings, enjoyed these and benefited from these two sacred teachings, I was called not only to help people become their infinite source in awareness, but to awaken and integrate that infinite awareness in our cells, in our organs, really in every aspect of our physical functioning. And indigenous ceremony was a huge help in that because it very much about involving the whole of you in the spiritual path. So for instance, if you go into a sweat lodge, all of you goes. If you're sun dancing, all of you participates. So I want to give you an experience of this because experience is always the most important thing. But first I thought I'd better explain what I mean by certain words that I use, since it's likely that you've heard these words in other contexts and understood them differently. So first of all, our infinite source, oneness. It's really nothing. It's the biggest nothing that ever was. There's nothing you can say about it. You can become it. But in and of itself, it really is absolutely nothing. Now that infinite nothingness or oneness takes on the appearance of form. It starts to show up as the universe that we know, our third-dimensional universe. And now science tells us most likely it's also showing up in multi-dimensional universes, such as a 9-dimensional universe or an 11-dimensional universe or whatever. But when that oneness starts to express, it's still barely something. It's almost nothing, but it's barely something. And I call that barely somethingness, that extremely subtle field, I call that the first light of creation, and hence the name of my work, First Light Transformations. Now, I use the word light, but I want to emphasize for the sake of the experience that we'll be having later on, that it isn't necessarily visual light, but I couldn't really call my work First Something Transformations. I had to choose some word, so I chose the word light, but it's almost like it's pre-photon light. So when you experience this light, it may not even be a visual experience. It may just be a sense of expansion or transparency. But because that first light is something, however subtle, rather than nothing, it does have some qualities, and the most outstanding quality is its infinite creativity, because everything, the whole universe, the whole multiverse, ultimately emerges from that first light. The next word that I want to define, because it's a word that you probably hear often, is soul. So in the way that I use that word, the soul is an impulse of that beautiful infinite first light of creation, and it is the totality of light, of divine light or first light, but it's that divine light expressing in a particular way. That is as our unique gifts, our unique path, as one of a myriad of amazing ways that the infinite wants to explore, play in, and share its possibilities. And I have found that it's really important on our wonderful planet to embrace all the ways that the infinite plays in the world of form, especially in our own lives. So the meditation that we're about to do is meant to support our experience of ourselves as infinite source, but also as our souls, or as the amazing ways that the infinite is sharing itself through and as us. And this, of course, includes our human bodies. So I hope you're all comfortable, because we're going to move in the direction of the experience. And in everything that we're about to experience together, I want you to just have this be a totally effortless process. I don't want you to try to visualize this or manipulate it or try to make anything happen. So no controlling this experience in any way. Just let the cosmos deliver up its gifts and receive them. So it's kind of like being on an airplane, and you just get on the airplane and maybe close your eyes and hang out, and the pilot takes you where you need to go. So let my voice be the pilot, and you just sit back and receive. Michelle mentioned Mary Magdalene, and one of the ways, the messages that she gave me, or the understandings that she gave me, is that in this next stage of human evolution, it's not so much about working hard and processing, it's about receiving, it's about grace. And she said, all I want people to do is open and receive. And if they open their hearts and receive, I, Mary Magdalene, will take care of everything. So the meditation is going to be in that spirit. I'm going to talk about something in the middle of the meditation called a light blueprint. Through Native American ceremony, I received a gift, and I saw that one of the ways that the infinite shows up in form is via what I can only describe as a light blueprint. So that is a blueprint for something that emerges directly from divine light just through the power of intention. On our planet, we could say that light is the architect for all that happens and for all that we are. And then Mother Earth builds those blueprints into third-dimensional form using her elements. So light is the architect and Mother Earth is the contractor. So when we start meditating at a certain point in the process, I'm going to ask you to imagine being a vast light being out in the universe, which is really what you are. And just to imagine that this was the very, very first time that you were ever going to show up on Earth. Maybe you were instructed to come, maybe you were inspired to come. But because you've never been on Earth before, you don't carry any imprints of the human experience or the charges from the human experience. You don't carry the human beliefs in mortality, for instance, or in disease, never mind all the different crazy emotional stuff that we get into. You're just coming in totally innocent, and you know that you're supposed to share your light in this world. So naturally, you're going to create the light blueprint for a physical expression of your light that allows your light, the light of your soul, to show up without any restriction whatsoever, in the fullness of its gifts, in the fullness of its brilliance, just here for you to enjoy and to share in any way that you're guided. So that's the quality of light blueprint for our human expression that we're going to create at some point. Once we have that light blueprint, it's like a new set of instructions for your current body, and we're going to let that light blueprint integrate into your current body and begin to instruct it to run on light, to recognize itself as light, and really change your experience of life on Earth. Now, once that light blueprint begins to integrate, there will be, for most of us, messages inside that say, Yeah, I don't think so. So any chargers that don't really believe that this is possible, they might come to the surface. So as time allows, what I'll do is spend a little bit of time with you, just we'll say healing and dissolving some of that resistance. Now, the first part of the meditation is, again, a totally effortless process. There's no doing involved whatsoever for bringing your awareness out of your mind and into your heart. Because our minds, though we need them, are, as you know, they work a little too hard most of the time. And they're great inventors of stories. Whereas our hearts are these beautiful, open portals to the divine light of our souls. So the first part of the meditation will experience a very simple way to drop into our hearts. And then step by step, we're going to let our bodies remember that they too are nothing but light. I hope you're all somewhere comfortable and that you're ready to close your eyes. As soon as we close our eyes, most of us have at least a few thoughts, clear thoughts or vague background thoughts, circling around in our brains. And as those thoughts circle round and round in our brains, we could imagine that they acquire substance and even weight. So we have the wonderful phrase, the mind is heavy with thoughts. Your minds will just be heavy with thoughts. And when our minds are heavy enough, they will drop absolutely effortlessly like an apple off a tree into our hearts. So let your mind drop now. Just let it fall. Now take a couple of deep breaths in and out through your heart, just to ground your awareness. Now as we sit in our hearts, open to the beautiful light of our souls, we're going to let our whole body remember, step by step, that really and truly it is just a creation of divine light, a dream of light. First, your skeletal system, all your bones, even your teeth, dissolving into light. And now your organs, your heart, your lungs, your stomach, your organs and all your organ systems melting into light. And now your skin and your muscles, everything that gives your body the illusion of form or limitation, melting into light. So all that remains now is you as a being of light, absolutely vast, absolutely free, moving through space without effort, transparent to all the stars, powerful and joyful. Be that light. And now letting go of any last, even faint sense of separation or individuality will dissolve into the infinite first light or divine light of creation. Be light. And now out of that infinite and infinitely creative divine light, which is your light, will emerge the light blueprint for the perfect third-dimensional expression of your incredible light with all its giftedness here on earth. The light blueprint for a body wired for light, in which every cell is suffused with divine light and fully identifies with divine light. The light blueprint, which somehow, small as it is, can hold and resonate with and share the immensity of your beautiful, gifted, exquisite light here on earth through the magic of creation. The light blueprint for a body without charges or restrictions that just vibrates your reality into this world. Now we'll let that light blueprint integrate into your present existence, and we'll be quiet for a bit while that happens. Now when light vibrates just a little bit, it becomes what we call energy. Energy is everything that we can feel, including all of our emotions, and that includes love. Now there's nothing for you to do, but I'm going to ask the light now present in every cell in your body to vibrate just a little bit, just enough to become love. Now, love waking up in every cell in your body, every cell vibrating with love. Love in your spine, in your heart, in your throat, in your limbs. Love everywhere. You are divine love, in physical form. You are the body of God's love here on earth. Every last bit of you embodying divine love. Divine love nourishing every part of you, every cell, every atom. All of you nourished by divine love and sharing divine love with the world around you. You are God's love in human form. How beautiful it is when all that remains is love. And as that divine light and divine love grow stronger in each of us, any part of us that thinks this is not possible, any charge, emotional or physical or whatever, hidden in some nook and cranny of our minds or our bodies, is just going to be, without any processing, lovingly and gracefully dissolved in that fantastic love and that fantastic divine light over the next few minutes. So again, I'll be quiet to give space for that to happen. Now, whenever it's comfortable, just slowly open your eyes. Take your time. So wherever you are in or out of space and time at the moment, I'll just share a few more words with you before I turn things over back to Michelle. One is that if you thought this was a valuable experience, and I hope you did, I understand that you have a recording of it, and I would suggest that you do it more than once. Because of where we are at this time in human evolution, it's really quite valuable to recreate that blueprint and reinstall it and let it continue to grow and grow until it is the dominant force, the dominant message in your physiology. And you literally are running on a divine light, and it's quite clear when you are. The other thing I'll mention, just to close, is that when I was in France several years ago, I had the most beautiful experience of unity with Mary Magdalene. Totally surprised me. So what I'm sharing is not about channeling, it's really from a place of unity. And what I understood from her is that among all the absolutely incredible lights and vast beings that are supporting the shifts here on Earth, for the Earth herself and for each of us, that Christ and Mary Magdalene were playing a particularly intimate roles. And I think she is revealing different facets of herself through different people so that her gifts can be shared from as many sources as possible. What she wanted to share through me, or the message that she gave to me, is that we are going to be so much happier than we have ever imagined. That our capacity for joy, our experience of life is going to be what feels miraculous now is going to become the norm, and that most of the changes that are going to take place to take us from where we are now to that life as a miracle sense of reality, they're going to be, again, gifts of grace. And all we really need to do is open and receive. Just open our hearts and let that light in, and let that light take in its magic and create its magic. And this is one way to do that. So I hope that you enjoyed that. And Michelle's.
That was absolutely wonderful. Oh. I am so relaxed. For me, it was just so exquisitely divine. I absolutely loved it. And Cynthia, I have a couple things that kind of in the beginning when you were talking, I wrote down, and I just want to make sure that I'm understanding. And since we have you here, why not, right? So you mentioned, I love this, I think you said light is the architect for all that happens, and Mother Earth is the contractor for that light. Yes?
That's how I experienced it.
That was so beautiful. I had to write that down. That was pretty profound. The other thing is knowing that you talked about our belief systems with density and really how some of us aren't quite open to fully receiving and accepting that light yet, and to really give ourselves permission to really reintegrate and allow it to become, it is who we are, but to be able to embody it again. You suggested doing this several times. And so do you have any suggestions as far as, could you do this too much? Or, what do you suggest?
No, you can't do it too much.
Okay.
So, if you have the time, do it several times a week even, or, whatever you're inspired to do, but it really does help shift the whole style of functioning, not just in terms of your awareness, not that that isn't fantastic enough, but getting your whole body to participate. So your body also recognizing that too is nothing but light. And what this means is, because sometimes people have a great deal of what we could call consciousness, but they're not physically healthy. And one of the reasons may be is that light, that self-awareness as the infinite, they haven't really focused on integrating that into their physiological functioning. So we have the possibility of taking these wonderful, wonderful bodies with us on this journey to the infinite, and it's a huge, huge privilege to be able to have that experience. I don't necessarily know what's going on in the rest of the multiverse, but I think it's not common that we can actually experience bliss, experience the infinite in a sensory way. We can actually feel it, sense it, see it, taste it. It's possible to do that, and this body is a vehicle for that.
Yeah, it's magnificent. The one question that I want to make sure that I ask is, you had this experience you mentioned where, as it came to you, it felt like it was instantaneous, and you talked about the importance of giving it time just because of our belief systems. And so when it comes to this course in particular, in terms of learning to trust your intuition, knowing that you can communicate and, as you said, unite with beautiful beings like Mary Magdalene, with spirit guides, with angels, with departed loved ones, how have you personally found that this benefits when it comes to trusting your intuition?
Well, my own particular path has not been so much in terms of guides, angels, and so on. I think because I started off on the Vedic path, I was told go for the infinite, and the infinite has all the answers. It's created everything, so it also has all the answers. So that the more I merged with the infinite, the more my sense of self began to just expand and span and finally dissipate into pure transparency or nothingness. The more I knew that whatever came into my awareness was from that infinite source, and that was the truth of the moment that I was meant to follow. Ever the source of your guidance, whether it's wholeness or specific guidance from specific beings, what you want to do is be sure that you have cleared all your personal filters, because then you can really hear what's being said to you. And the more your personal filters are dissolved, which are these different charges and belief systems and all that kind of stuff, the more you will really get what you're meant to hear from whatever source. And then trust is absolutely a critical factor. The more you trust, the louder that inner voice will become, and the clearer that inner voice will become. There's this beautiful saying from the poet William Blake. He used to say, if the sun and moon should doubt, they'd immediately go out. So when you start getting that guidance, it's just the kind of thing that just comes in out of nowhere. Trust it, and the more you trust it, the more it will become available to you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I love that, and it reminded me of the time that I was the most trusting as a child, when I connected to whom I call God, Source. And it was from there that once I felt that connection and that unity and that beautiful oneness, that I was then introduced to the angels and to my departed loved ones, and I can feel the truth of that so strongly. So I'm glad that you circled back to that in the way that you did.
Yeah, because the biggest, purest truth will always be that infinite source, which you are, you know. So it's just a matter of becoming more and more deeply familiar with that, and then it will speak to you, and then trust it.
Yeah, and it was really, really wonderful, because when Cynthia and I connected, we both just smiled at each other. It was like, yes, I see you, I recognize you, like we've shared lifetimes before. So I just truly appreciate you coming on and sharing your wisdom and sharing your love, and really helping all of us attune to that energy of which we are, but to remember it again, to open that portal, to be that conduit to help us really connect to that. Last module was, you know, really it was deep. It was deep, deep stuff. And to return to this blueprint, it really feels uplifting and gives us that ability to lighten everything in a beautiful way. So I really appreciate it. And I thank you for being here, Cynthia.
Oh, I thank you. This was so fun. I love that.
Oh, well, so between now and the next module, everyone, if it's not apparent, please do this as often as you feel guided. It's definitely going to assist. You are Source. You are this infinite, beautiful, vast love, this infinite greatness. And to really feel that at every level of your being allows you to stand in your truth and to trust, and as Cynthia said, to know then that your filters are open and they're clear, and that what you're receiving is indeed authentic and divine. So thank you, everybody, for being here, and I look forward to next week. And until then, as I like to say, enjoy the experience. Thanks again, Cynthia.
Thank you so much. My pleasure, for sure.
Bye.